Ba-ba. Hello, boys and girls. Hold on a second. I don't know, the filmmaker in me wants to get that bright light off the background a little bit. Hello, boys and girls. This is Old Man Yells at Cloud for Blue Powder Monkey's Patreon. Oops. Let's get my thing going here. All right, cool. We're working in Wonderdraft, which I've worked in before on this channel. So you might wonder why this is session 1, but I'm basically, I have this RPG world that I'm designing things for, and I've done the map for it a couple of different times at different scales, and I think I finally locked in what I want. And so this is going to be basically whoop, that. I'm listening to the Yes album Relayer from 1974 probably ish. So yeah, I do like me some Yes occasionally. All right, I'm gonna try not to bump the microphone as I grab my water here, but we'll see how that goes. See if I'm still close enough. All right, we're on a Wacom tablet, a Cintiq tablet. And it doesn't have mouse. I have to use a mouse sometimes, not for most of this, hopefully. And it doesn't have an easy zoom. I can't use finger pinchy zoom on this for some reason. Anyway, so I've done this map before, and I've even done it in Wonderdraft, but I realized, I don't know, sometimes I just don't fucking think things out. So what you're seeing here is kind of a ghost. I've got the original map. This is the first one that I did, and the detail's okay in it. But as Wonderdraft has this thing where you can kind of highlight an area and have it automatically sort of zoom in on it, and then you can draw a more detailed map, and it sort of pulls from the pixels that you've sort of set up, right? So that could be good or bad. Who's to say? So I wanted to make sure that my base map has the highest level pixels I could do. And it makes sense for you to get more detail as you zoom in on a map, or as you get subsequent maps that have more detailed angles in it or whatever. But anyway, so I took this original one. I'm doing an 8,000 by 8,000 square document because my computer can handle that, hopefully. So I'm turning the opacity way down on it. And as you can see, I've sort of set up a title already, which this is super awkward, so I'm going to end up redoing this. Excuse me. The world has 4 different geographical areas separated by this big desert through the middle. 1 hex, 240 miles. 240 miles is equal to 12 days of walking at 25 feet, 7.5 days of ride at 40 feet. And then here's my little ruler bit. I'm a little perplexed or annoyed, I guess, at the way they do their rulers. Max out at 2,000 pixels wide, so I can't literally make this ruler any bigger. So you can sort of see that this previous map, the ruler went clear across, which meant the map was at a much smaller size. So when I do my little zoom outs that I'm going to do, I'm going to have to move the ruler around and put it over here and then grab part of it. I think I'm going to quarter it initially. I think that I'm going to, when I'm done doing this detail, then I'm basically just going to grab this quarter and be do this. So we'll see if they have maximum sizes for that kind of stuff too. But anyway, so right now it's a little confusing because I've got this overlay text from the old map. But I can see, maybe I'll go a little darker. Yeah, that's a little better. So there's a couple different ways you can do, because a lot of this, I'm talking now because a lot of this is just going to be me drawing. That's the easiest way to do land, right? You just fill it in, do whatever. You got a little size brush, all that. But what I like to do, and what I am going to do, I'll start with this little island of Imchuk, is I like to use the raise up kind of tool, which does the same thing as you can see here. But you not only got a size, but you got a roughness. And so now when I do this, it's doing all these little broken up pieces like this, right? Takes me a little while to get clear into here. Unlike this, which is just burk. And if I was to set this down to 10, I think, which is the size the other brush is, then it's just doing a straight thing. There's no variation in the border like there is with this. So I could erase this, but practice my undo. Anyway, and then once you do, here's another thing you can do, is kind of a rough border like that, you know, in which case you can do like big fucking swatches of rough shape this way. And then you could come in with the lowering tool, which is the exact same thing. You've got your brush size and a roughness on it, and then you could lower it the opposite way, right? Do that. And that's not bad either. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the raise landmass tool, and then I'll fill in. So I'll do something, you know, similar to this. And then I'll grab this other big one right here and just be like burk and do that. Something like that is kind of going to be the idea. But what that'll allow to happen, there we go, is a little more excitement in the borders, in the edges next to the water. This is loud as fuck right now. Guessing you guys can hear it. It's so fucking loud. I had the volumes on these turned all the way down and it was still just like coming through. Alright, so. Okay. So I've talked about this before, there are a ton of, I don't like this little square that they put in the middle of the cursor. I haven't been able to figure it out. I spent a whole evening trying to get rid of that thing, I remember. But there are a ton of tutorials and other resources to discover how to make more realistic land masses. Like everything, reference is important. But if you look, for example, see if I can find an okay example of this. All right, we're going to give you a close to home kind of thing, because I'm more familiar with that. These are awful fucking maps. The fuck, Google. Oh. This thing used to be good. Now it's just fucking garbage. And whoever created it walked away with a bunch of money, and they're super happy. They did a thing, and they just basically made everybody's lives worse. Sorry, this is my little Google rant. Okay. So this is the U.S. I live up in this state of Washington. So you can kind of see the little details through here a little bit, right? And you see kind of how the coastline has these little notches type of deal, right? So that's all right. So this is a map of Washington, right? And you're like, oh, look at all this crazy detail, right? All these little inlets and shit. Like, there's a lot going on there. Big rivers and all the rest of that, okay? And then I've forgotten how crazy this album is. And then here is the Puget Sound. And this is still scale-wise, like this, I think from about here to about here. Well, that's West Seattle. Let's do that. Do we have a scale on here? Technically right in here somewhere. But I can tell you, as someone who's lived in this area most of my life, that like up here by the lakes, I think that's Green Lake, or is that Lake Washington? I say after, no, this is Lake Washington, duh. All right, anyway, this area, like right to here to down somewhere in here-ish, like this is about 15 miles or so. So there's still even more room for detail, but like, you know, probably in a D&D map like the one that I'm showing you here, this 240 mile map, Mount Lake Terrace. Let's boot back out here. I cannot read that. Do not know what that is, right? But this is small. I mean, this would fit, you know, this isn't even 100 miles. So anyway, you got to figure out like what you want your kind of scale to be and how much detail you want to stick in. And there is an area of this map that I very vaguely modeled after Washington, sort of, but on a much larger scale kind of thing. Like the main city of Rail is down here, and it's going to be like somewhere in here, and that's going to be similar in some ways to like Pittsburgh, actually, because I like that whole the rivers sort of conjoining over the city and all that. Anyway, but yeah, as you can see, like this thing, let's see if we can find a fatty one here. Get a good sense of scale here. Getting a little scale map on here. Nope, not on this one. Metzger. How about this one? This one doesn't have it either, but this is probably closer, you know. Like that's pretty good detail for what you need for a D&D map. But you can come in here and, you know, this is the kind of stuff you sort of pay attention to. Like, how does this work? And then you kind of have long strips where nothing's going on because the coast has been sort of sanded away by geological chicanery. And then you've got these mountains through here. That's where the rivers come from, obviously. Like that. Everything going down to the Columbia, which starts up, who fucking knows, up there somewhere. Comes all the way down here, and then runs along the border between Washington and Oregon. And then outlet-wise, like, Portland is somewhere in this area. Maybe somewhere in this area. We can see how big this is. Like, that's probably, I don't know, hour drive or some shit. Who knows? Anyway, it's good sized, is my point. So yeah, the scale that I'm working on right now is pretty good sized, and that's part of the reason. There's 4 different adventure paths I want to do, and the ones that the adventure paths that I want to do have. Can I find a goddamn scale on any of these things? That one. Oh yeah, there we go. And when you have an adventure map, you have to drill like way into it, and so those areas will be super detailed. For example, there's a lake over here. The first adventure path we're doing takes place in a metropolis that's right there, and this is like a 300-mile long lake, and the characters are going to adventure partway up the coast of this lake, right? So I have encounters, the main city's here, and then there's like, I think a little city over here, or a pretty good sized city here, and then a couple of villages, and then eventually there's another city, I think right up in here somewhere, right? So it's like I have to, it's 300 or 400 miles. It's 200 and this is 260 something. So yeah. Anyway. That gives you kind of an idea thing. So let's see here. Let's look at this. 25 miles long. So we're going to grab